Parasyte the Grey has an alien invasion premise with a bonkers creature design that also might unintentionally explore how people feel about Christians. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for Parasyte the Grey Season 1 reads, "A group of humans wage war against the rising evil of unidentified parasitic life forms that live off of human hosts and strive to grow their power." So what does this thing feel like? The trailer really got my attention, and that's why I checked this out. It's a Korean series. I watched it with subtitles. I'm not sure if a dub is available or not. The main character is a female grocery clerk who is infected with a parasite, but because of unusual circumstances, she shares a mutual coexistence with the parasite instead of being completely taken over and replaced by it as the other victims are whose brains are completely devoured. So the question is, will she and this parasite come to a contented partnership? Are all parasites completely evil? Those are kind of some of the questions that are lingering after the first episode. It feels like a blend of police drama and sci-fi alien thrills. There's a secondary character that's a police detective with a personal connection to the clerk. And I like that blend of having a very personal story, in this case focused on the clerk, with another character that's involved in the police procedural side of things. So the story is following people that are trying to defend against this alien invasion, and it covers both the ground of personal drama and like the national drama of trying to figure out this problem. But the personal investment in the stakes for me was disrupted by a character named Captain Choi, who initially was not a problem for me, but she was used in the last 15 minutes for an exposition dump that she delivers while acting like a game show host, very just kind of whimsical and, carefree. And I think we're meant to assume that she's like that because she's kind of lost it. We learn she has experienced very personal tragedy at the hands of the aliens, but the performance feels too simplistically carefree. I think one thing that could have made a huge difference is to give the actress bloodshot eyes, either with lenses or something, or if she, could get to that emotional state, that would be fine too, but show her with bloodshot eyes so that despite her attitude, we know there is something much heavier going on. Something as simple as that, and if possible, having a little bit of tears welling up in her eyes too. That would have been this really striking contrast, and I would have felt psychologically like it was a more realistic kind of scene and that I could invest in the stakes here. But I was just like, well, she's gone cuckoo, is acting a little bit like a cartoon character, so if this is how people are going to react when really, really bad stuff happens, I'm not sure that I can really feel the stakes here. So really it took me out of the experience quite a bit. It also, in that moment, felt like a rushed and unnatural presentation of the setup and how the aliens work that I would have preferred to have revealed over the 6-episode season. Now, you might say, well, you're just talking about one scene here. Yeah, but it was pretty significant at the end. The last 10, almost 15 minutes, I want to say, was given to this exposition dump that was kind of like the core of how the story was being delivered. And I was just really, really put off by it. There were some hints of Captain Choi maybe being a little bit like a character I couldn't relate to or see realistically in her behavior before that, but it really came out in that last scene. Now, as far as the cast goes, apart from the Captain Choi performance, I did find others to feel very grounded and natural most of the time, although when the main character breaks down at the realization of her plight, I would have liked more time, more intense emotions given to that moment, to that performance. So I'm just not at all confident that the performance styles are going to go dramatically heavy enough for me, given the stakes that the story is dealing with. Okay, as far as stunts and visuals go, it's there's CG that's definitely being used to pull off some stunts, definitely the creature effects, and it reads as merely okay visual effects to me most of the time, unfortunately. The trailer, maybe it's because I watched it on my just my PC monitor, and then I actually watched the show on a proper, larger TV screen. But I got much better impressions from the trailer of what the effects were going to be like than the show itself. There were a few shots that were much improved compared to the norm. either because they were just, more time given to them, or because maybe there was some practical makeup and practical prosthetics that were mixed in to help do the job. I'm honestly not sure. So there were some pretty impressive moments, but they did not represent the norm. The creature design is wonderfully bizarre for my tastes and kind of Lovecraftian, but the execution fell sadly short of what I would want and took me out of the intense moments of the story way too often. Okay, what about the themes of this thing? Is there anything morally, philosophically going on that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? As the aliens blend in with humans, the aliens are also organizing and have seemingly created some kind of like a church movement that has meetings that they are attending as aliens disguised as humans. Now, episode 1 doesn't actually show one of those meetings playing out, but it frequently refers to the existence of these meetings with flyers that are out everywhere and a logo all over the place that's advertising it. And they're referred to as prayer revival meetings, which definitely has a specifically Christian connotation to it. One of the police detectives is also said in passing to regularly go to church, but whether that means he's a religious person or a parasite, I'm not sure. There was a way near the end of the story where they were able to detect who were parasites and who weren't, but I can't remember if that character was among the ones that have been cleared. So somebody maybe can tell me in the comments if they know. The idea of religious or specifically Christian organizations turning out to be evil is a fictional device that's been used many times, but I'm not sure it's going to be used that simply here. The ravings of Detective Choi, insisting that the parasites are not people, among other things that she said, seems extreme enough, her character seems extreme enough to make me suspect that some sympathetic aliens will be introduced to sort of counter that extreme perspective. The clerk's parasite especially seems like it might not end up being entirely evil. We'd have to watch and see. But the fact that this device is repeatedly used in fiction should, I think, be cause for us as Christians to ask ourselves, I wonder if I am contributing to a negative impression of the church. Now, it's true that many times, many people find the gospel itself off-putting and offensive. But I think we can too easily lean on that and just attribute that to their reaction and their being off-put by us or by the church. We can fail to recognize when it's actually something about us that is off-putting, or our particular articulation of the gospel that is offensive, rather than the gospel itself actually being what's causing offense. The way that we live out and express our faith is vital, including how we communicate truth, which can be a weak point for many of us geeks who aren't as strong in the realm of social skills. But this is something that we are meant to work on. Colossians 4, verses 5 and 6 says, "Walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person." And so doing some self-inventory on that subject is really worthwhile. All right, I have no idea what your tastes are in TV shows, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Spader. Skip this one. The trailer looks like a kind of bonkers that you might totally love, but the show itself falls short in its effects, its script priorities, and in some key performance moments. Sadly, this one is not for you. It's rated TVMA for gore, language, smoking, and violence. And those are all my thoughts for now on Parasyte the Grey, Episode 1. Right now, I'd like to take some time to write a tune for pre-made rhyme. The lyrics kind of never change, but the melody gets rearranged. I never know what I'll create to say how much I appreciate Dan Excel, Gabriel Stinson, Olin D. Branham, Winston Crutchfield, Lee Bray, Justin D. Myers, Joel Nelson, and Scruffosaurus. Thank you for supporting me and SBP and CGC. And now to all who hear this tune, thank you as well. Please come back soon. Want to hear your name in song? Check out our page on Patreon. I would love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell, do the stuff you want to do to stay connected, to share the content with others. I appreciate all of that very much. I do want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders, all of them, for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/spiritblade productions. And don't forget to check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.